Welcome to CSAT Made Easy 2025 series, where every evening we will discuss the most exam specific questions and concepts that are important for your CSAT examination 2025. As I told you in previous class, CSAT paper, it is comprised of 80 questions. 50 of those questions will be mathematics based, and the other 30 they will be non-mathematical questions. And these 13 non-mathematical questions, mostly they will be based on passages or reading comprehension. And in these passages, we will look at another question now. Climate change has heightened two critical threats related to cooling: the indirect emissions from inefficient air conditioning and refrigeration systems powered by fossil fuels, and the direct emissions from harmful refrigerants. However, many countries still lack integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards. High efficiency air conditioners using climate friendly refrigerants are available, but inefficient models using outdated refrigerants still dominate many markets. Without stronger regulations, developing nations risk becoming dumping grounds for these inefficient appliances, exacerbating climate and energy challenges. The word exacerbating, it means making something worse. Okay, now we will underline words from sentences. Climate change has heightened two critical threats related to cooling. I will underline climate change here. You might underline the keywords two critical threats, it is okay. But what is important is, when you read that underlined word, you have to remember the whole sentence in your mind. It doesn't matter that you need to underline what I underline. Underline that term or word which will help you recollect the whole sentence. Okay. Look at the next one. Climate change has heightened two critical threats related to cooling: the indirect emissions from inefficient air conditioning and refrigerant systems powered by fossil fuels. These are not two threats actually, it is only one threat, because the second threat is direct emissions from harmful refrigerants. They have mentioned two threats, right? Even though there is the word and here, this whole thing is one, because they have differentiated by writing comma here. So this whole thing is first threat, and the second threat is direct emissions from harmful refrigerants. Okay, what will I underline here? In the first threat, I will underline inefficient air conditioning and fossil fuels, and in the second threat, I will underline harmful refrigerants. However, many countries still lack integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards. High efficiency air conditioners using climate friendly refrigerants are available, but inefficient models using outdated refrigerants still dominate many markets. High efficiency air conditioners using climate friendly refrigerants are available. What shall we underline here? We will underline efficiency air conditioners. The word high is understood. Should have underlined inefficient models. Okay, I will go with that one. Without stronger regulations, a developing nation risk at becoming dumping grounds for these inefficient appliances, exacerbating climate and energy challenges. I will underline becoming dumping grounds. Okay, now I will go to the passage. Based on the passage, the author has made the following assumption. Assumption 1: inefficient air conditioners will vanish after the introduction of high efficiency air conditioners. High efficiency air conditioners using climate friendly refrigerants are available, but inefficient models using outdated refrigerants still dominate many markets. Okay, this sentence, what it is telling us? It is telling us that even though there are high efficiency air conditioners, inefficient models are still there. So our assumption 1 became wrong. Inefficient air conditioners will vanish. No, they have not vanished. Okay, assumption 1 is wrong. Look at assumption 2. With stronger regulations, developing countries will definitely be able to avoid becoming the dumping grounds for inefficient appliances. This looks to be right, but is it right? It is not right. I will tell you why. Where this is being talked about? It is being talked about in the last sentence, becoming dumping grounds. Okay. Without stronger regulations, developing nations become dumping grounds. Okay. So they are telling us that without stronger regulations, developing economies will become dumping grounds. So has the author assumed that with regulations they will be able to avoid dumping grounds? I think he has assumed that there is a good chance that developing countries will be able to avoid becoming dumping grounds if they had stronger regulations. However, we will reject assumption 2 for two things. The first thing is the word of definitely. The author seems to assume that there is a good chance that developing countries will be able to avoid becoming dumping grounds if there are stronger regulations. However, the given assumption, they have used the word definitely, so we'll drop it. First case. Okay, even if you are not convinced with this rejecting it for using the word definitely, I will give you another example. Let's say I am a police officer and I asked my superior for bulletproof vests so that my subordinates, when they go to fight armed criminals, they are not hurt. What is the assumption here? The assumption here is that giving bulletproof vest will save my subordinates from gunshots. But have I assumed that it will definitely save them? No, it will give them a very good fighting chance. The probability of them surviving a gunshot increases by providing them with bulletproof vest. But will it be 100% sure that if you wear a bulletproof vest, you cannot be killed by a gunshot? No, I have not assumed it. Why have I not assumed it? Because they can hit at a place where the bullet vest does not cover. The criminal might do something else that negates the protection of bulletproof. When I am asking my superior for bulletproof vest, I am assuming that the vest will give more chance for my subordinates to fight against gunshots. However, I have not assumed that it will 100% save them. I have not assumed it. So, in this case, the author has assumed that the regulations will give the developing nations a good chance of avoiding becoming dumping grounds. However, he is not assumed that it will definitely avoid that. So, assumption 2 is also wrong. So, what would our answer be? It will be neither 1 or 2. Next question, it is based on the same passage. We will underline the same words here also. Climate change, inefficient air conditioning, fossil fuels, harmful refrigerants, energy efficiency and refrigerant standards, efficiency air conditioners, inefficient models, and becoming dumping grounds. Okay, now we will look at the question. Based on the passage, the author has made the following assumption. Developing countries do not have access to high efficiency air conditioners. Okay, has he assumed such thing? Developing countries do not have access to high efficiency air conditioners. Maybe, may not be. We will keep that one pending. We will look at the second option. Climate change will affect the developed countries as much as it will affect the developing countries. Okay, where is this being talked about? It is being talked about discussion of developing, it comes here, right? Becoming dumping grounds. However, the author seems to have more assumed that developed countries are better off than developing countries. We have no reason to believe that the climate change will affect the developed countries as much as it will affect developing countries. It might be true. It might be true in as per our common sense. However, the passage does not provide us any context to think that the author believes that climate change will affect the developed countries as much as it will affect developing countries. The author, he has expressed his concern for the developing countries more. However, he has not said that there is no mention of comparison of developed countries and developing countries in the context of climate change. So, we will reject option B directly. Go to option C. In integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards alleviate the climate change threats related to cooling. The word alleviate means reduce the suffering or pain or something. Integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards alleviate the climate change threats related to cooling. Okay, we will keep this one pending. We do not have a concrete reason yet to accept or reject it yet. We will look at option D. The indirect emissions from inefficient air conditioning and refrigerant systems powered by fossil fuels and the direct emissions from harmful refrigerants are the two critical factors that have caused climate change in the first place. Okay, what is option D telling? It is a very long option. It is telling us that, look at the first sentence of the passage. It says climate change has heightened two critical threats, and this has reiterated the same thing in the form of two critical factors. Here they have reiterated this thing as two critical factors. However, they have said in option D that they have caused climate change. But what is the passage telling us? The passage is telling us that climate change has given rise to two threats, but this option D is telling us that these two factors are what have caused climate change. No, this is not the case. Why is it not the case? Because look at the first sentence. The climate change has heightened two critical threats. So they are saying that climate change has made two threats worse. But in the answer option D, they are telling these two factors are what caused climate change. No, it is not our assumption. We are left with option A and option C. Look at option A. Developing countries do not have access to high efficiency air conditioner. This seems to be right, but it is not right. I will tell you why. Look at this one where we have underlined high efficiency air conditioners. They have told us high efficiency air conditioners using climate friendly refrigerants are available, but inefficient models using outdated refrigerants still dominate many markets. Okay, they are telling us even though there are good efficiency air conditioners, the inefficient one, they still dominate the market. However, there is no mention of high efficiency being available only to developed countries and the inefficient ones being available only to developing countries. But okay, you want to ask me another question. What about the next sentence where they have told us developed nations risk becoming dumping grounds for inefficient appliances? They have merely mentioned that they might become dumping grounds for inefficient appliances. That is, they might be sold more to them, or they might be where they will be literally dumped. However, it doesn't mean that developing countries, they cannot buy efficient models at all. They might be able to, but they might, because of they being developing, they might have, without regulations, they might feel forced to buy inefficient, but they might be in a place where they need to buy inefficient ones. However, it doesn't mean that they do not have access at all. They might have access or they might not have access. We do not have reason to believe that they do not have access. They might have access or they might not have access. It doesn't matter. We do not have a reason to believe that they do not have access. So option A is also eliminated. Look at option C. Integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards alleviate climate change threats related to cooling. Okay, this one is the only option we are left with, and I will show you why it is the correct answer also. Where is it being talked here? However, many countries still lack energy efficiency and refrigerant standards. Okay, first, in the first sentence, the author, he expresses a concern about climate change and the two threats that it poses, and then he says, even though there is climate change is happening and even though there are two threats, many countries still lack these regulations or these regulation standards. So he is expressing a concern again. There is climate change and there is threat. However, still some countries, they do not have regulations. So it means that if he is expressing concern for it, he has assumed that if there were standards, it would have been, we could have eased the effect of climate change. Okay, it is like this. The author is saying, oh, it is so sad that she seems to have broken her leg. However, I do not have a wheelchair in my home. What did the author say? He said, oh, it is so sad that she seems to have broken her leg. And however, I do not have a wheelchair. So what in this context, what is the author assumed? He has assumed that if there were a wheelchair, it would have been helpful for her. He has expressed concern for the girl who has broken her leg, and he has expressed concern that he has lamented that he does not have a wheelchair. So he has assumed that if he had a wheelchair, it would have been helpful for the girl. So in that same way, if integrated energy efficiency and refrigerant standards were there, they would probably alleviate the climate change threats related to cooling. The word alleviate means make less severe. It make easier for someone. So option C is our answer. Okay, what if you did not know the word alleviate? What if it means? Just you could have eliminated option A, B and D, then you would have landed with option C. One thing about reading comprehension and critical thinking, especially in the context of CSAT, is even the most prepared student, if he answers 20 questions on reading comprehension, still there is a chance that he might get 1 or 2 wrong, because the questions are slightly subjective kind. I will tell you how. Answering reading comprehension questions is like answering your essay paper or appearing for interview. However well prepared you be the most prepared person, you will not get 100 marks, right? It is almost impossible. The same way, it is quite rare that you will get all the questions right here. If you still get it, it's very good. But do not assume that if you answer 20, you will get all the 20 right. Have a margin of 1 or 2 questions. Okay, we'll go to next question. There is a claim that organic farming is inherently safer and healthier. The reality is that Because the organic farming industry is still young and not well regulated in India, farmers and consumers alike are not only confused about what products are best for them, but sometimes we use products in a way that could harm them as well. For example, since organic fertilizers are difficult to obtain on a large scale in India, farmers often use farmyard manure which may contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals. Certain plant sprays such as datura flower and leaf spray have an element called atropine. If it is not applied in right dose, it can act on the nervous system of the consumer. Unfortunately, how much and when to use it are not well researched or regulated issues. Okay, we will underline the words now. There is a claim that organic farming is inherently safer. I will underline organic farming. The reality is that because the organic farming industry is still young and not well regulated in India, farmers and consumers alike are not only confused about what products are best for them, but sometimes use products in a way that could harm them. Here I will underline confused and harm. What is this sentence say? It says that even though there is an assumption, there is a claim that organic farming is good, the reality is different. The farmers and consumers, they are confused, and because of the confusion, they may use products which are harmful. For example, since organic fertilizers are difficult to obtain on large scale in India, farmers often use farmyard manure which may contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals. Okay, I will underline for the whole thing. Organic fertilizers are difficult to obtain, and I will underline farmyard manure. Okay, let's go to the next sentence. Certain plant sprays such as datura flower and leaf spray have an element called atropine. I will underline leaf spray. I do not know what datura flower is, and it doesn't matter. We'll still go. If it is not applied in the right dose, it can act on the nervous system of the consumer. I will underline the right dose. It can act on the nervous system of the consumer. Unfortunately, how much and when to use it is not well researched or regulated issues. I will underline not well researched. Let's look at the question now. Based on the passage, the following assumptions have been made. Organic farming is inherently unsafe for both farmers and consumers. It looks as though this is right, because they are telling us that the farmers and consumers are confused, and hence they will use products which will harm them. So we are prone to think that it is right, but we will keep it pending. I will tell you why. We'll go to the next option. Farmers and consumers need to be educated about eco-friendly food. This seems to be right. Why? Because throughout the passage, the author has talked about the farmers and consumers being not knowledgeable about organic food. You might have another question. How do you make connection between organic farming and eco-friendly food? Okay, that is also a valid question. I will tell you how we will make the assumption. Look at where they talk about farm manure. We read the sentence of farmyard manure, which contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals. Toxic chemicals and heavy metals, they are not eco-friendly things, right? So we can make a connection between organic farming and eco-friendly food by looking at this sentence. Farmers often use farmyard manure which may contain toxic chemicals and heavy metals. So farmyard manure, it is not an eco-friendly consumption. If using farmyard manure, it would not create eco-friendly food. We can make a connection using this farmyard manure sentence with eco-friendly, being eco-friendly. Farmers and consumers need to be educated. That becomes right. Why it becomes right? Because the author says farmers and consumers are confused, and they use products in a way that could harm. So he seems to have assumed that because they are confused and not knowledgeable, so they use harmful products. If they had been educated, then probably they would not have used harmful products. The assumption doesn't state farmers and consumers definitely need to be educated about eco-friendly food, or it does not say farmers and consumers, if educated about eco-friendly food, will definitely avoid harmful products. That is not what it is saying. They are merely stating that farmers and consumers need to be educated about eco-friendly food. The author seems to have assumed it. Why? Because he is telling, oh, these people are not educated, so they are confused, and so they are using harmful product. So he has assumed that if they were educated, they would have not used it. Let's go back to assumption 1 now. Organic farming is inherently unsafe. What does the inherently mean? It means within itself and outrightly. Organic farming is outrightly unsafe for both farmers and consumers. Is it unsafe? No. The author says that because of their lack of knowledge, because of their confusion, they have made it harmful for themselves. But organic farming, it is not by itself it is not harmful. Because of the lack of knowledge, the farmers and consumers are using harmful products, but it is not in itself harmful. The author is not stating that organic farming is bad. We should leave organic farming. Here merely stating that because of lack of knowledge of organic farming, people are using harmful things. So we will reject assumption 2. So what will our answer be? It will be 2 only. I think by now you have a fair understanding of what assumption is. Based on that, this is a homework question for you. Leave your answers in the comment section. We will reply if your answer is right or wrong. And one more thing about reading comprehension or passage questions is, you need to read well. Reading whatever matter, it doesn't help. Read specifically the opinion articles in standard newspapers like the Hindu or the Indian Express. Both are good, or any standard journals where they give you opinion pieces, editorials, op-eds or columns. All of them are okay. Read at least one opinion piece every day. If you cannot spend that much time for reading, at least read one piece of opinion once in at least 2 days. That is very essential for your passages. And passages are questions, they carry up to 30 questions in your CSAT paper. So it is a very important topic. And if you have a good vocabulary and grammar, it helps, but they are not strictly requisite, and it is very difficult for us to now improve our vocabulary and grammar in the remaining months. As you read regularly, your vocabulary and grammar, they will increase gradually. You need not spend time explicitly for improving vocabulary and grammar. Read, have a dictionary reference for you. Google the words that you do not know. Google the grammar points where you feel confused. However, if you want to improve grammar, you can refer to the Wren and Martin book. That is good. And if you want to improve vocabulary, Word Power Made Easy book by Norman Lewis is good. If you like this class, tune in again tomorrow evening at the same time. We will discuss some more questions on assumptions. And the questions discussed in this lesson series, they will be very exam specific. We will begin with the basics and directly go to the exam level questions. However, if you want to make yourself very strong in CSAT, and if you liked this video series, subscribe. If you like this video series, enroll to our regular CSAT batch. We will give you more insight and more such valuable content for your CSAT preparation. All the best, and most of all, I wish you a very happy studying. Thank you.